One important thing that I want to say about the fabric, and it's a point that it's very important for me, is that today we get it woven with looms that give you a fabric that is 140 centimeters wide. At the time, looms for silk did not weave fabric this wide. So the width of the fabric was usually around, in Italy for example, was around 52, 53 centimeters. It depends from city to city. And so what I'm doing to cut out Josephine's dress, to get the same proportions of the period and to sort of work out how to cut the fabric in the same way they would have done in the period, I split the fabric in two, so that I get a narrower width that enables me to get the joints in the dress exact in the mid-19th century, and it makes me economize on the fabric in the same way. This is very important to me because you really do get different proportions. Skirts are cut in width of fabric. You know, if you have got widths that are too wide, you get a differently proportioned I'm using around 10 meters of this fabric. I mean, I had 10 meters woven. I might be using just 9. I'm still working out parts of the pattern. I am basting the split at the center back of the skirt so that I can stitch it, and I'm still thinking if to then put hooks and eyes on it or if to leave it open. I'm not sure. It depends how full the skirt will be on the crinoline. Because it can be fastened or not. It depends. It depends how you arrange the pleats. Sometimes there's no needs for a fastening because there's so much fabric that the split never comes open. So my mind is working at the same time as stitching. And I don't really know what to do yet, partly because I'm making it for a mannequin and I will not really see the dress in movement. So I think I'll have to wait to see the skirt over the crinoline to make a decision. But I can stitch it in the meantime. This is the actual belt that Josephine is wearing in the painting from which I'm copying the dress. So this is the actual belt that she wore with the dress. So it's quite exciting to have it. And I'm going to take a measurement of it to sort of have an idea of what her waist measurement really was. So it opens at the center front with a clasp. I've been told it's not very precious as a belt. It's more like costume jewelry. So the preciousness is actually only the fact that it belonged to her and that she's actually wearing it in a painting that is in the museum. So it's more of an emotional value than a financial one. Yeah, I think I'm going to take the measurement first flat and then sort of in the shape it would sit on the body. So the measurement of the belt flat. It's 23.5 inches. Trying the shape out in calico, which is not something that I often do with this period, because it's a period I know I can cut with my eyes shut. But I'm doing it because I'm working on an acrylic mannequin. If I was working on a person, I would feel more confident, basically because I've got arms. And because the person is slightly soft, so I can sort of mold the body in the shape I want, while here I have to create a hard shape and make sure that what I've cut fits it perfectly. So it needs adjustments that to a certain degree you would do on a person as well, but this needs a bit more. So that's why I've decided to do a toile, to make absolutely sure that I can cut it and make it without having to try it on too many times. And I think I'm not getting many alteration, and I'm getting quite a lovely shape over the bust, which is what I really wanted. I've cut the bodice in a layer of cotton sateen, which is one of the options to interline bodices of this period, which were either cotton sateen or glazed cotton lawn, or a glazed linen as well was used, or chintz, which again is a glazed cotton. I like the cotton sateen very much because you can ease in the seams and get very beautiful curvy shapes. So now I'm cutting the silk layer and will soon be basting it all together, which is quite exciting. Now, can you see how shockingly well this fits over this mannequin? Look at the center back. Look, this is just perfect. Yeah? And this is just by doing the proportions by eye, the painting. I mean, we knew what the waist measurement was, so that we know it's accurate. And this is not a ball gown, it's a dinner dress. So actually the waist is slightly bigger. It's like 1.5 inches bigger than the ball gown. And this is because women wore the corset tied at different measurements depending on the time of the day, on their state of health, and how they wanted to look. Definitely ball gowns were the ones that you wore tighter because that was the time when you wanted to show off the most and you wanted to look as gorgeous as possible. So all of this fits together. The lengths are right, the width of the back is right. It's actually amazing that it fits this mannequin so well, because the thing about historical clothing is that they're all made on a particular person. So it's very difficult to get them to fit, to get more than one to fit the same mannequin. usually you have to make the mannequin especially to fit that particular garment. So this tells me that I've done the proportions correctly, but it also tells me that this probably was Josephine Bowes' bodice. I'm now basting the gathering stitches on the other side, so we are starting to see the little puff sleeve coming to life, and hopefully I got the proportions right, and it should look just like in the portrait. I've nearly finished tucking this one. I'm making this dress to fit me really. I'm now finishing off the bottom of the bodice with piping. So I'm pinning the piping into place and then I will sew it directly to match the bottom line, so that when I'll turn it, this will be the finished edge. I am now sewing the Bertha, which is a bit of a complicated piece. And it's a bit like a sculpture, and it took a while to work out how to construct it. So now I'm fixing it to the base, and then I'll remove all the gathering stitches, and hopefully it will look like in painting. It's a bit of a fiddly job. Okay, I am showing Robin how to backstitch the sleeve that we have, of course, basted in position. How to backstitch it to the armhole, because it needs to be a really strong stitch. So we waxed the thread to make it stronger, and we are doing really small stitches following the drawing of the armhole. I've just done a stitch that I'm not really happy with. It is quite thick, so sometimes the use of pliers is necessary. Yeah? So you can carry on with this. Yeah? And the result is this. First we've put piping around the armhole, the piping we prepared many days ago. Then we basted the sleeve into position. And doing it by hand means that you can stitch really close to the piping and get it really tight and really neat. You certainly can't have the same result as good on the machine. So even in this period when some people still made the clothes completely by hand, but a lot of makers were using a sewing machine because it was a new, exciting invention. The sleeves were always put on by hand, always put on with a backstitch. Because, first of all, because today makers to do that with the piping, they would use a zipper foot, which did not exist at the time. It's a half foot. And because the armhole, the shoulder seam and the crotch of trousers were always backstitched, and good tailors would still do that today because the backstitch is much stronger than a machine stitch, and also it's much more elastic, and those are the points where you would put more stress with the movements of your body. And those are the points where that modern machine or factory-made clothes, that's where they tend to come undone. The crotch of a pair of trousers is always the first thing that splits apart. When it's stitched by hand, it certainly cannot. Finito. Okay, we're finishing off the neckline, which is one of the last things. And as every Victorian dress with a low neck has got a drawstring with a silk ribbon on it to draw it closer to the body. And then we just have to put the bertha on and the dress will be finished. So we're now doing the decorative top stitching on the back seams, which are really typical of this moment, actually, of all the 1860s and 70s as well. It's just a really, really tiny back stitch worked through all the thickness of the seam allowance, and it not only makes it look really smart, but it also keeps all the thickness, it presses all the thickness down so that the seam becomes extra smooth. Here we have the finished bodice, and as you can see, I have finished off all the seams like in the two original bodices that you have seen previously, and this is actually the way the seams I prepared here in Bond are done with the same technique as that black bodice from the same period. I've done this partly because to do the other technique, which was done like this central seam with the linen, I would have needed a lot of old linen tape, which is not made anymore. So I've just decided to use the other technique, which enabled me to do an authentic technique without the use of tape. Yeah? Let it very neat. Okay, you learn to let it go. Yeah? Okay, petticoat. I told Annabelle we put a little pink mark on the inside because we keep putting it on inside out. Okay. So this, one person needs to hold it at the front, like this, at the base of the waist, and yeah, they are not the most stable. Over. One needs to keep it in the center there, so that it's centered. This is a tough job, so it's going to require a bit of physical force. And I have just a sec.
It is under three. Yeah.
Yeah, I look like